In the village of Tangbo, life moved slowly and steadily, a place where customs and traditions were the very air the villagers breathed. Each day was familiar, each face known, and every person in their place. But this year, there was a buzz in Tangbo, whispers that stirred the hearts of women and raised the eyebrows of men. The name on everyone's lips was Jamba, the village's humble palm wine tapper, who, despite his modest lifestyle, had developed an irresistible allure among the women of Tangbo. Jamba was no rich man, no prince, just a simple tapper, climbing tall palms each morning to gather sap, and returning to his hut by noon to brew his famous palm wine. He was an unassuming figure, with calloused hands and sun-darkened skin, yet he possessed a magnetic charm that was becoming the talk of the village. The gossip started with hushed whispers, and slowly grew to murmurs and knowing glances. For though Jamba lived humbly, he possessed a gift that had nothing to do with his wealth or his looks. Women who spent nights with Jamba would walk away differently, their eyes brighter, their smiles wider, as though they had tasted something rare and exquisite. One by one they came to him, each one drawn by the allure of his rumored skills in bed and the size of his manhood, the whispers that he could bring a kind of pleasure they hadn't imagined possible. Amma was among the first. A woman of high standing and beauty, Amma was known for her graceful presence and her family's wealth. Many suitors had come for her hand, men who boasted of their cattle, their land, and their promises of comfort and security. But Amma had grown restless. She wanted more than empty promises and polite gestures. She wanted excitement, a thrill that no wealthy man had offered her. When Amma first heard the whispers about Jamba, she was intrigued. The women spoke of his strength, his gentle touch, the way he seemed to know what they wanted before they even knew it themselves. It was said that he had a gift, a way of bringing pleasure that made a woman feel like the only one in the world. So, one evening, when the sun had dipped below the horizon and the sky was washed in hues of purple and gold, Amma made her way to Jamba's hut. Her heart pounded as she knocked softly on his door, and when he opened it, she felt a thrill course through her. Jamba's eyes held a warmth, an understanding that seemed to go beyond words. He welcomed her in, his voice smooth and inviting, his smile gentle. They sat together, talking and sharing palm wine, their words weaving a connection between them. And soon, she found herself in his arms. That night, Amma discovered the truth of the rumors. Jamba was indeed unlike any man she had known. He had a way of moving, touching, of filling her up, that made her feel super excited, cherished, desired, and seen. He wasn't just skilled, he was attentive, patient, and intuitive, responding to her every need, as if he had known her soul for years. The experience left her breathless, changed. She returned home the next morning, her heart racing, her spirit alight with a newfound sense of freedom and excitement. And though she tried to keep it to herself, her glow, her joy, was unmistakable. Soon the women of Tangbo began to notice Amma's change. She moved differently and spoke with a quiet confidence, her face softened by a mysterious contentment. And when her friends asked, she hesitated. But soon she couldn't help herself. She whispered of the night she had spent with Jamba, of the way he made her feel like she was the center of the universe. It wasn't long before the word spread, and other women found themselves intrigued. Naomi was the next to seek Jamba, a widow who had once known love but had since been adrift in a sea of loneliness. Naomi longed for comfort, for someone to hold her and remind her that she was not alone. The stories of Jamba's touch, his skill, his warmth, found their way to her, and one evening, she decided to go to him. When she arrived, Jamba greeted her with that same understanding smile, his presence steady and reassuring. They shared moments of quiet, of laughter, and eventually, of intimacy. In his arms, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt alive. Jamba had a way of making her forget her sorrow, of making her feel whole again, if only for a night. But as Naomi left his hut in the morning, a new thought crept into her heart. Though he had soothed her loneliness, she knew that this feeling would fade. Jamba had offered her comfort, but it was fleeting, temporary. The peace she sought, she realized, would not come from another person, but from within herself. And so, as the days passed, she found herself pulling away from him, seeking her own path to healing. Then came Isi, a young woman known for her spirited nature and her laughter that filled the air like birdsong. At first she laughed off the rumors, dismissing Jamba as just another man. But curiosity gnawed at her, and one evening, she too made her way to his hut, driven by the urge to discover what made him so irresistible. Jamba welcomed Essie with his usual warmth, and as the night unfolded, she felt her heart race, her senses heightened by his presence. He was gentle, yet firm, attentive, yet passionate, a combination that left her breathless. For the first time in her life, Essie felt truly desired, truly understood. Yet, even as she reveled in his arms, a small voice whispered in the back of her mind. She realized that while Jamba could bring her pleasure, he could not offer her the stability or depth she truly longed for. As the thrill faded, she found herself longing for something more, a love that would stand the test of time, not just a fleeting night. One by one, the women of Tangbo came to Jamba, drawn by the stories of his touch, his skill, his gift. Each left his hut with a glow, a sense of satisfaction. But eventually, each one came to the same realization. They wanted more than moments of excitement. They craved depth, companionship, a love that went beyond the physical. The village elders soon noticed the pattern, the way women would visit Jamba, only to pull away days or weeks later. Under the shade of the ancient baobab tree, they gathered, sharing knowing glances and quiet laughter. Jamba has a way with women, no doubt, one elder mused, chewing thoughtfully on a kola nut. But charm is like the morning dew. It sparkles at dawn, but disappears under the heat of the sun. The others nodded, agreeing that while Jamba's touch was powerful, it was not enough to build a future. True love, they agreed, required more than passion. It required commitment, patience, a willingness to stand by each other through all seasons of life. Meanwhile, Jamba himself began to notice the change. One by one, the women who had come to him began to drift away, each one seeking something more. At first, he shrugged it off, for he had never sought their attention. But as the days passed, a strange emptiness began to settle in his heart. He began to realize that while he could bring pleasure, he offered little more than that. He had never considered building a life with someone, never thought of going beyond fleeting moments of connection. But now, he found himself wondering if there was more he could give, if there was more he wanted. As Jamba reflected, the women of Tangbo found themselves changed as well. Amma returned to her family, realizing that freedom could be found within herself, not in the arms of another. She embraced her independence, helping her father manage the farm, finding a sense of purpose and pride in her work. Naomi began to heal, slowly finding peace within her heart. She realized that the emptiness she had felt since her husband's death could only be filled by her own strength and resilience. She began helping other women in the village, offering them comfort and support as she once sought from Jamba. And Essie returned to her joyful, spirited self, but with a newfound wisdom. She understood now that excitement was not enough. She wanted a love that was steady, lasting, a love that would hold her through all of life's seasons. In the end, the story of Jamba became a lesson, one that the women and men of Tangbo would remember for years. They learned that while passion was powerful, true happiness lay in the quiet strength of connection, the beauty of companionship, and the choice to build something that lasted. As for Jamba, he returned to his life as the village palm wine tapper, but with a subtle change in his heart. He no longer sought validation through the attentions of others. Instead, he resolved to know himself better, to seek purpose beyond fleeting moments of pleasure. And so, the village of Tangbo returned to its quiet rhythm, a place where life moves slowly, steadily, as each person, in their own way, sought the kind of love that went beyond the allure of a single night to the promise